Here in Palm discuss some of the information that NORAD has compiled over the last few years. This information has been extremely beneficial to my progress as a performer on the PGA Tour, and I certainly hope that the time I spent today will inform you of some of the changes that have been incorporated in the framework of my golf swing over these last 24 months. Today's date is September the 10th, 1986. It's a beautiful day here in Palm Springs. Behind me is the lovely San Jacinto Mountains, and I certainly hope that this tape will be as refreshing to you as this lovely day of life is to me. Okay, let's begin now. There are three major frameworks to discuss this MORAD information. The first one I will discuss briefly here will be in relation to motor set, various principles that are associated to events that take place throughout the golf swing, and as the brain codes itself to control the various movements of limbs and joints and movements of the body throughout the address position, top of the swing, and certainly down to the downswing and into the finish. Secondly, I would like to discuss the elements of radius locks, various radius locks that are associated to controlling joint movement. Certainly joints move because of muscle contractions, and I will take the time to discuss their relationships throughout the golf swing to control the radius of the club head and its path up the plane, back up to the plane as the player goes into his finish. The third element I'm going to discuss is the 10 sections in which the club shaft will go in its orbit around the body, up the plane, down the plane, and around the axis once the typical force sets into it. The 10 sections are quite beneficial to be able to break the golf swing down into its various stages so that you have a better feel and understanding of how these multiple complexities of the golf swing and how they eventuate throughout the golf swing. So let's begin first in discussing the motor set. First part of motor set I would like to discuss deals with the axis tilt. Now, in the golf swing, it's called the dual axis tilt. There are two axis tilts. One is that as the player sets up at address, in his address position, as he's bent at the waist for, depending on the individual, maybe 20 to 25 degrees, his tilt of his axis, which is going to rotate around the body, is tilted somewhere around 20 degrees. That's the first axis tilt we're going to discuss in motor set. And when you're dealing with motor set, you're basically establishing your framework, the foundation of the body, setting up at address to be able to control the movements of the arms, club head, and certainly the trajectory and path of the hands as they go up and down around the body. Motor set is nothing more than establishing what your intentions are, what you intend to do with ball flight behavior and the various changes or things you must concentrate on. Okay, so we discussed briefly the elements of the first axis tilt and how the individual is bent at the waist. And the second axis tilt will take place in stage number 5 of the downswing when the left arm is parallel to the ground. Coming down to stage 6, this is where from the upper torso, the waist bend, must be tilted anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees to allow the right shoulder to continue in its path to go down to stage 6, down to stage 7. And the second axis tilt is going to control the path of the right shoulder as you go over to stage 8, which is going to allow the upper part of the body to stay tilted to the right. Because you are going to lose your first axis tilt, this postural alignment that you have at address when you go from section 1 to 2, section 3 here, section 4 to the top. Then when you come down to section 5 with the left arm is parallel to the ground, then down to section 6. This is when the second axis tilt will really start to be quite prevalent and show up in your alignments. This way you're going to be able to control the path of the right shoulder, because you're still bent at the waist here as you come from stage 5 down to stage 6. And you're going to be able to, here's where centrifugal force takes over. You've got to be able to have the right shoulder downward. As you go to stage 7, you're still bent at the waist, but as you go from 6 down to 7, you're still bent at the waist. The left leg will clear, and then here's your axis tilt, second axis tilt of the right shoulder in this direction to be able to control the plane of the left shoulder to the right shoulder. Basically what you're trying to do there with the second axis tilt is put the right shoulder the same spot the left shoulder is up here at stage 4 at the top of the swing. Okay? At this point, right here at the top of the swing, be able to move the right shoulder in the exact same position. If you come out of your second axis tilt, the whole plane and orbit of the hands and the arms, as they come up and down the plane from stage 7, which is impact, to stage 8, where the club shaft is parallel to the ground, right here. You're going to allow the shoulders to move and oscillate on the same plane if you make sure you maintain your first axis tilt going up the plane. So when you come down to stage 7, you've got to make sure this axis tilt has already been completed so that you can keep the right shoulder moving through the shot and back up the plane again. Okay? When centrifugal force sets in on the club at stage 6 down here, 6, and throws the club to 7 to 8, the direction in which it's going to be thrown at is going to be controlled by this axis. If you come up out of the shot, the tension right here is that centrifugal force will be throwing the club in the wrong direction. Okay, that's axis tilt. Second part of motor set we're going to discuss here is your radius locks. Now your radius locks are very, very, very important. There are 7 to 8 of the radius locks. I believe there's 8 of them. And these radius locks will control the various movements of the limbs and the joints of the body in sequence so that you can fulfill your intention. First of all is your alignments. And alignments basically is the trajectory of the hands to keep them going at stage 1, up the plane, at stage 2, to stage 3, to stage 4, back down to stage 5, down to stage 6, down to stage 7, down to stage 8, up to stage 9, and down to stage 10. Okay? The radius locks are extremely, extremely, extremely important, because in order for you to fulfill your desired intention, these radius locks must be maintained at various stages throughout the swing. And certainly your understanding as well is when do you lose some of these radius locks. We will discuss that later. Okay, after we complete the discussion of radius locks, we're going to go now to the importance, it's called the fixation of left foot alignment. The left foot is, once you set up at address, there's 3 positions in which you can fixate your left foot. You can have your left foot at right angles to the plane line or the target line. You can have your left foot at a 20-degree relationship opened up, or you can have it in a relationship of 45 degrees. Now, the left foot fixation of that alignment is extremely crucial that you come to understand its relationships, because the degree in which you set the left foot, whether it's at right angles or position 20 degrees or 45 degrees, will not only control the trajectory and flight of the golf ball, but it also controls the relationship of how much the hip girdles slide, as well as the axis tilt at the top of the swing. The left foot does not control specifically the amount of the axis tilt, the second axis tilt, how much you tilt to the right. It controls how much the hip girdles will slide in the downswing. If your left foot is at position number 1 at motor set, the left hip, when you come down, the right shoulder will come down, the hip girdles will slide the full maximum range, where the outside of the left hip now is way outside the left foot. From this view, you will see I will come down with my right shoulder, okay? I will come down to stage 6 with my left foot in position number 1. As I come on down, the left hip girdle will slide all the way over outside the left foot. from here, I will rotate to the left, and you see how much axis tilt I have. Now, for a long shot, let's say from a 6-iron, 5-iron, 4-iron, all the way to a driver, you don't want to have that foot in that position. If you're going to be hitting your wedges, your high irons, basically you want your left foot in position number 1. I will like to further discuss that if your left foot is set in a 20-degree position, once you go to the top of your swing and you come down to stage number 6, go into stage number 7, okay? Once you go to 7, the left foot is at 20 degrees rotated outward. You'll be able to rotate more freer down the line. And you see that I just have a moderate axis tilt, maybe 10 to 15 degrees. But if I have the left foot at right angles to the target line, when I come through the ball like this, you see how much I'm tilted? And to be hitting drivers all the way to a 6-iron, through 6-iron, it makes it very difficult to control the plane of the club shaft as centrifugal force throws it out. The reasoning is that the farther the club shaft gets away from you, the more centrifugal force wants to throw the club out. So therefore, you want to have a full rotation through the shot. When you go to hit a wedge shot, the club is moving more on a vertical plane, more downward. So therefore, you can have your left foot at right angles, and as the hips slide, the club will become more on a more upright plane down through impact. Sandwich, pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron. It seems that the left foot in position number 1 at the fixation of left foot alignment is the position that one may want to use. So, if I may reiterate again that the left foot alignment will determine how much the hip girdles will slide on the downswing. And how much the hip girdles slide on the downswing as they slide downward is going to determine how much the arms and hands will become more in a vertical plane. If the left foot is rotated out into position number 2, which is about 20 to 25 degrees here, then the hip girdles will slightly slide to bring the club from stage 4 down to stage 6 with a slight axis tilt. Then you can rotate more down the line. There's more of a rotation forward down the line from 6 to 7 and forward, okay, if the left foot is turned out. Now, if you put your left foot in position number 3, 45 degrees, then your range of motion is severely restricted as far as having your hips slide on the backswing. It's almost impossible to do that. When the left foot is in position number 3 at 45 degrees, this is where Hogan and Trevino basically over the years have put their foot in that position. This left foot will, at the very top of the swing, you'll find that my left knee is coming, actually moving, left of the golf ball. So your center of gravity field is more oriented towards the left side. As you take the club up to section 4, down to 6, and going to 7, the tendency with the left foot is out is to really have the massive rotation through the ball. One of my experiments in working with the variations of this left foot position, I have learned that in position number 3, it's very easy for me to control the flight of the ball, to move the ball very low to the ground. Since April of 1979, when I first started to learn elements of Homer Kelly's book, The Golfing Machine, this 7 years of development, I have learned that probably one of the most significant things I've come to understand is the importance of that left foot and its relationship to other various joints of the body. So that discusses shortly a little bit of the importance of the left foot position. In summary, I will say, one, the left foot position not only controls trajectory will affect the trajectory of the shoulders and the hands and the hips, but they also will control the trajectory and path of the golf ball as it ascends upward into the golfing heaven. Also, the left foot fixation alignment will control the various degrees of how much the hips will slide and the axis tilt. Okay. Um, Excuse me for a moment here. I'm a little thirsty. I'm going to get a little bit of water. Be right back. Toast to the good life. Better golfing days ahead. Okay. Uh, so that was discussion, a little bit of radius locks. Um, let's go down to the left foot fixation and its alignment as one sets up to the ball. Let's go to motor set number 4 here, which is going to discuss the importance of rotation throughout the golf swing. Now, one of the important aspects of rotation is that once you set up at the address position in section number 1, you're basically aware of coding the entire network and circuit in the brain that's going to control the movements of muscles and contractions of muscles and stretching of ligaments in order for joints to move, and then their relationships and throughout the various sections and maintain radius lock. Basically, you're basically controlling everything through rotation. You don't feel that as you're in your posture that you're moving to a position, holding a position. You're aware of various stages to which various alignments must be maintained, but you're basically moving immediately up the plane, down the plane, all the way up through to the very finish. One of the reasons why you want to fixate on rotation is that because of the larger muscles, the proximal muscles, and their sophisticated circuitry to be able to take intentional acts from the brain, the cerebellum, to send messages out for muscles to move. The larger muscles move much quicker, they're much faster, and they're much stronger than those muscles known as the distal muscles and distal joints, which are 3 times weaker and they move 3 times slower. So basically, at the address position, you want to be able to fixate on rotation going up the plane and down the plane all the way through. And one of the reasons why you want the rotation to be involved, because the next step of motor set is called the no release. You want to keep rotating to be able to hold off the release until the very last incident down here at section 6 when centrifugal force takes over. So when we will discuss shortly the importance of no release, you've got to come to understand what you are doing each one of these stages and how rotation affects the various motor sets of the radius locks, the axis tilt, and then when centrifugal force takes over. Okay, let's begin now to discuss the no release in the golf swing. Now, what does that mean? Set up in the address position. Once you go from section 1 address, going up to section 2, where the hands are outside the right foot and the club shaft is parallel to the ground. If there is a small miniature release, this is when you're going to feel it. When you're setting up at address, and immediately as the right elbow bends and the hands rotate and they cock upward into section number 1, here's your rotation set it in immediately going up the plane. Okay? Now, there is a small little release coming up here to section number 2. Then all distal rotation of the hands as they move 90 degrees to section number 2, and the cocking of the left wrist in anatomical terms is called radial deviation. That this position here is being held, and so there is a small release up here to section number 2. You don't want to be taking the club back on a more elongated arc and then flipping the club inward onto the plane. You want to be able to feel that the club is released upward immediately on the takeaway. So there's a feeling of a little bit of a small release and cocking of the right and left wrist up to section number 2. Okay, now again, what does no release mean? Our discussion in the motor set of no release is once you've gone to section 4 at the top and you're coming down to section 5, down to section 6, is you're trying to rotate forward until the club shaft gets parallel with the plane, so that plane line, that's when centrifugal force sets over, and it's going to throw the club on its orbit around the axis of the body. set it here at section 6, go into section 7, centrifugal force throws us on a 180-degree arc forward down the plane, and the club shaft should be parallel to your heel stance line right here. Okay. You at the top of the swing, we know that is section number 4. Section number 4. We want to be able to go from section 4 at the top of the swing down to section number 5. The left arm is parallel to the ground. Keep rotating down to section number 6, trying to hold off the release. You got to keep your body moving so that you can move the club to stage number 6. That's what centrifugal force will throw the club down to 7 and rotate all the way around. There's no throwing of the club. There's no conscious rotation of the hands turning over. Basically what you're doing is you're just trying to keep rotating until you get down to the very, very bottom. Then centrifugal force will throw the club very quickly, okay? Faster than the actual rotation of the body from stage 6, fast, all the way to stage number 8. So it goes 6, 7, 8. You're going to keep rotating, holding off the release so that you can keep rotating all the way down to stage 6 where your hands are between your left and right foot. Centrifugal force sets in at stage 7 and rotates it all the way around to stage number 8. From this view, going down from stage 6, okay, club is thrown out to stage number 7, and it's thrown forward over to stage number 8, okay? The importance of this no release, I cannot begin to tell you of its influential role. You don't want to be releasing a club head or the hand. When you are set up at address, the hands are set where they're a little bit in a cock position, a radial deviation, and pretty much that position is held at the address position, going from stages 2 to 3 to 4, down to 5, down to 6. Now, my photographs have shown me going from stage 4 down to stage 5, and the club shaft is still at about 135 degrees angle. This is 90, this is straight line, this is 90 degrees, 135 degrees here. So that once you get down to stage 5, basically you're at about 135 degrees, the alignment of the left wrist and the club shaft with the driver. But then as you come down to stage 6, then it's back to the neutral position where it's level again. Here you have maximum cock, radial deviations. Stage number 5 in the downswing, you have it both the left wrist under here and the left top of the hand are just pretty neutral or just a little bit cocked. This way there's a metacarpal phalangeal collateral ligament on the bottom of the left wrist that is being taunted and held in position to prevent the left wrist from uncocking this way. So you go from stage 5 down to stage 6 where the wrist is pretty level now. From here, stage 6, when centrifugal force takes in, you want to try to keep the left wrist still in a little bit of a cock position so that the club goes more forward, and as the left wrist stays cocked, the hands move around the body, around the axis. If you lose your if the left wrist becomes too uncocked and have ulnar deviation, which is a left wrist uncocking towards the ulnar bone, then you're going to get the hands rotating, the hands will be turning over too much, and the hands will be thrown away from the body, opposed to staying very close, going up to section number 8, to stage 7, to stage number 8. Okay? The last thing is under motor set. I'll review one more time about no release. In summary here, in conclusion of no release, basically you're doing this from sandwich all the way to a driver, where that you are going up to stage number 4, coming down to stage number 6, holding on, okay, and the club is released. On top, down to stage 6, the club is released all the way, going all the way up to stage 9, back down to 10. I'm going from stage 4, down to 5, down to 6, centrifugal force throws it. All I'm doing is rotating the club shaft, bingo, and I have the dual axis tilt, the second axis tilt. got to understand the axis tilt must be maintained to be able to control. Once centrifugal force sets in down here at stage 6, if you don't have the axis tilt, you just keep rotating like this, centrifugal force will throw the club outward, and it causes a great deal of complexities to start to set in, and the brain will start to exercise its adjustment systems of making compensations through other various parts of the body, of the anatomy. Okay, the last point here of motor set is to discuss Newton's centrifugal force. When does centrifugal force enter into the golf swing, and what role does it play on moving this club shaft into a designated orbit away from the axis of the body? Okay? When you deal with Newtonian force, time, and space, it's a very, very, very important element in the development of the golf swing, of understanding what role centrifugal force plays. The movie Star Wars said, "Let the force be with you." Well, for a golfer, you've got to learn to be in compliance to this ubiquitous force field that is part of this Earth and controls the planets, etc., and its orbit around the sun. So the relationship of centrifugal force, anytime you are moving not in a straight line, but as you're moving on an arc, there's going to be some degree of centrifugal force. The longer the club shaft gets away from you, the more the club's going to be moving on an arc, so therefore the stronger the pull of centrifugal force is going to be. That's why earlier I discussed the fixation of the left foot alignment. As the left foot is opened up into the golf swing, it allows you to move more freer, more forward and down the line with a better rotation with a slight axis tilt. And you'll be able to generate a faster throwout action of centrifugal force, because the plane angle where a driver is getting farther and farther away from you. When we go to discuss a wedge plane angle, the wedge is moving more in a more upright plane. If you have the vertical wall of the target line or the plane line, and the club head here, you'll see that the distance in which the club head travels top of the plane for a wedge outward to the plane line is a very short distance. So therefore the throwout action of centrifugal force is going to be very minimal. That's one of the reasons why you basically at motor set number 3 in establishing the left foot fixation and its alignment, whatever position you're in, you want your left foot to be more or less at right angles to the target line, so that the plane angle of the wedge comes more down the plane, so therefore you want a little bit more of a sliding action to be able to have the path of the club to come more underneath the ball. Okay, so this relationship of centrifugal force, it will set in down here at the bottom at section number 6 when the hands are between the left and right foot, going from the top, going through sections 5, going down through section 6. This is why you want to just keep rotating down to section 6. Bingo, centrifugal force throws it. 6, down here to 7 very quickly. You want to keep rotating forward over to stage 8 with the axis tilt. Okay? You're at the section 4, rotating down to section 5. Here comes the hip girdle sliding because of the right shoulder moving down. The degree of how much the hip girdles will slide is determined by the left foot. If I have the left foot out at 45 degrees, as I come all the way down, my body moves forward much more readily, much more quicker. It seems that the longer the radius is, the longer the club shaft is, the more the left foot's got to be turned out. I have found that if I'm just going to hit the flight of a ball with my driver and I want the ball to land and run 10 to 20 yards, I'm going to have my left foot in position about alignment number 2, 20 degrees, the left foot alignment at the address position. So now the question is why do I want my foot in position number 2 where it's opened up to the left, so that I have a better rotation through the ball? One more point I'd like to share with you is that, excuse me, Mr. B, is that if you have a very upright plane angle to the top, where the left arm is not going right across the shoulder line, if you have it where it's very upright, if you have your left foot rotated outward like this, and it's very upright, the problem you're going to run into is that because the left foot is going to allow the rotation of the body to set in much more faster, the arm is going to be thrown away from the body more and more around the body. And it's going to be very hard to slide downward like this with the hip girdle here with the left foot rotated out. Now those players you'll find that are hit the ball very high in a very upright golf swing, they will have their left foot at right angles to the target line, because as the arms are very high away from the body, they've got to slide themselves downward to have the slide, this neurological clutch set in here, to slide forward to get the arms back here down on the plane in gear again, so then their rotation sets in. It's a very complex movement. You cannot be you cannot generate a lot of club hit speed. If you do generate a lot of club hit speed and have such a high plane angle, and your left foot is at right angles, you're going to run some severe complications, because the hip girdle cannot be coordinated with the upper torso and the lower torso to be able to time it, to move the club up and down the plane and forward with any kind of real serious accuracy. It's very, very, very difficult. So, in discussing the centrifugal force relationship again, in conclusion, it will set in down here at stage 6. Once you get to stage 6, it'll go out to stage 7. Once you get down to stage 7, you got to make sure that you have the second axis tilt to be able to keep the shoulder rotating on the proper plane, controlling this movement around the axis, going to stage number 8. Okay, those are some of the points of the motor set. Next, we will take a moment here to discuss the various radius locks. And let's talk about the TED section first, then we'll discuss radius locks. I'm going to have another toast here, if you don't mind, and think of food life. Okay. Part of one's development of the growing and learning and understanding these complex networks that do take place in the golf swing. This next stage of understanding the TED sections, I think, will be extremely beneficial for you to know how the golf swing is broken down into various sections, so that you have a better feel of what I've been trying to do with the MORAD information to eliminate the waste of the golf swing and increase the productivity. I believe MORAD has been quite successful in that, and I feel quite beneficial to have been the guinea pig of learning this information. Okay. Okay, let's discuss the 10 sections. The first of the 10 sections is the address position. Basically, at the address position, section number 1, now here you are, we just discussed motor set. You must have it incorporated within your understanding of your comprehensive framework of understanding how these things work. Motor set, now setting up the 10 sections. When you set up the address, position number 1, you're aware of again, where is your left foot alignment? Is it 45 degrees, is it 20 degrees, or is it right angles? You'll know that if it's 45 degrees, what kind of ball flight you're going to have and what other restrictions you're going to have on your joints, hip girdles, shoulders, etc., etc. Position number 2, its flight, how the ball will go off is more of a lower trajectory. What I like to play with is with my 6-5, 4-3, 2-1, 3-wood and a driver. You put it at right angles again, you know what kind of effect it has on hip girdles, slide, shoulder rotation, hand plane location, its trajectory, everything. So once you set up an address, you've got to determine, again, whatever your intention is of what kind of ball flight you want, or what, not only the flight of the ball, but the trajectory and path in which it's going to fly from the address and impact all the way to the end result where the green is located, or the fairway. So again, address position, you're aware of where your left foot is fixated. You're aware of your axis tilt, its relationships. You're aware of your radius locks. We'll discuss this lastly. You're aware of the left foot alignment. Now you're aware of the rotation going up from section 1 to section number 4 at the top, coming all the way down to section 7, all the way up to section 9, 10 to 10. You're aware of the rotation now. You're also aware now at the address position that you don't want to have a release on the downswing. Centrifugal force will release the club forward. You don't want to consciously try to throw it or fling it or push it or pull it forward. Just let centrifugal force do that for you. It'll throw it in a more consistent orbit and a more consistent alignments from stages 6 down to 7 up to stage 8. Again, motor set tells us at the address position you got to be aware of Newton's centrifugal force, how you can deliver the club down here at stage number 6 where your hands are just above your kneecap. You don't want to be coming down to stage number 6 way up here where the club shaft is so parallel, because centrifugal force will throw it from right here outward. Okay, we don't want to do that. So you have to know what stage centrifugal force is going to take over, and then the question is the amount of centrifugal force. And that's going to be determined of how much rotation you have in the downswing opposed to how much slide you have in the downswing. You don't want to have that much of a centrifugal force throwout action when you are dealing with your wedges moving on a very upright plane. That's why you want your left foot rotated inward so that you can rotate down, the hip girdles will slide, allow you to come under the ball this way. Okay, so these things all must be coded in your circuits to understand what you're going to do at the address position. Okay? Before that club even starts to go up the plane. So section 1 is address. I have a 4-iron here, so therefore I'm going to have my left foot in about a 20 degrees alignment, opened upward. My weight is going to be distributed a little bit towards the left side, in between my center of gravity here and my left foot, right in the middle of that position. Another point I forgot to mention was that the right foot must always be webbed out 4 to 5 degrees. You have your left foot hitting this forearm for me is rotated 20 degrees. The right foot is always braced 4 or 5 degrees open, so that it will help you to brace the right foot. If the right foot is turned inward, it's very easy for the right hip girdle to slide, and too many complexities take place when that happens. Okay, so if we go back to the address position, you want your weight slightly centered to the left of your center of gravity. Okay, if I'm going to hit this golf ball, I'm going to have the weight not in the center here, but slightly a little bit more to the left here at the address position. Okay. Okay. And the reason why is so that when I go from section 1 up to section 2, where the club shaft is parallel to the ground, my hands are outside my right foot. As my shoulders turn, my center of gravity weight is going to move a little bit towards the middle now. And so that on the downswing, once I go from section 4 down to 5, and my hip girdles start to slide, it moves the center of my weight back towards the left side again, inside the left heel. Okay, so that I can come to that point, have the hip girdles there, maintain the second axis tilt, then bingo, rotate around that point. Okay, that's section number 1. Nothing is moving yet, but you're aware the moment that club goes back of all the relationships that are going to start taking place once you go to section 2. Okay, section number 2 is in a position where you go from section 1 up to 2. The hands are outside the right foot. Now what moves this club shaft from this position and address to its 90-degree position here in section number 2? The right elbow contracts, the hands rotate immediately. They'll rotate 90 degrees with the hands cocking or radial deviation. Okay? They begin its path of the club releasing upward and starting to cock. Okay, the hands are just outside the right foot. At section number 2, the shoulders have turned about 8 to 10 degrees. And once you go from section number 2 up to section 3, all rotation of distal joints have been turned off. Rotation of the hands, it rotates because the elbow is bending. You don't want to move your hands independently, like this, on the backswing. You don't want to be going this way. As the right elbow bends, the right elbow moves in the trajectory around the rib cage, and it stays as it rotates around the rib cage here. You've got to be aware of the right elbow staying very close to the body as it goes up and down the plane. Okay, so going from section 1 up to section 2, the hands outside the right foot, the right elbow contracted first, the hands rotate and cock, and simultaneously you've got to be aware up in your neck and your shoulders, the trapezius muscles in the back around the neck here, they are turning the spine, they're rotating around the axis, and you've got to make sure that you have right elbow bent and the hands rotating. Then also you're going to have to start the rotation of the hips and the shoulders together, right? All the way down to the feet. So simultaneously you have contraction of the right elbow, you have flexion of the right elbow, you have the hands rotating, the hands cocking, as well as the shoulders rotating 5 to 10 degrees. The hips will rotate 5 to 7 degrees, and the knees will rotate from the address 5 to 7 degrees as well. Okay, going to section 2. Once you're at section 2 and you're going up to section number 3, the shoulders will have turned almost 80 to 85 degrees. The knees have turned the full range of 20 degrees. The hips have turned almost 45 degrees. And again, once I go to section 2, the hand rotation, the cocking is already set in. There's no more rotation of the hands. Everything is going from section 1 to 2 up to section 3 where the left arm is parallel to the ground. Once the left arm is parallel to the ground, I'm aware of how much these joints of my knees and my hips, my lower torso and upper torso have rotated. I'm aware of section number 3 here at the top, that I go from the top all the way up to section number 4, and from section 3 up to 4, see the path of the right elbow and the flexion of the right elbow? It's the only basic joint that you're aware of that continuously, one of the joints that you must be aware of, that going from section 3 up to section number 4. You've got to be aware that once you get to section 3, that's your right elbow, because the shoulders just turn 10 more degrees going up to section number 4, and it's held right there. Then the right elbow keeps flexing, until the club shaft is parallel to the ground and the left arm is going right across the shoulder line. Okay? So even from this plane, I'm setting up at section 1, section 2, going up to 3, going up to 4. You're aware of the right elbow and what the right elbow is doing. Okay? Okay? Section 3 to section 4. Here's section 3 again. Okay, now we're going up to section 4. Now what happens in section 4? You have top of the swing, club shaft's parallel to the ground. You have the trajectory of the right elbow. It started at the address and went up around, like the moon around our Earth. It's on a certain elliptical orbit. You don't get the right elbow flying away from the body. If you do that, that means the humerus bone from the left elbow to the shoulder starts to lift upward. The scapular joint in the back of the shoulder, it starts to go upward, and you start to lose your axis tilt moving up this direction. And then you have to make a compensation of downswing. We don't want to do that. It's too complex, too complicated. Okay, so here we are again at stage 4 at the top. Now, what do you have to code? What can you be aware of? And what can you monitor from stages 4 down to stage 7, which is impact? I have come to learn that from section 4, I'm basically aware of my right shoulder at the top of the swing. My right shoulder is not going to move perfectly at the top of the swing. It's not going to move perfectly vertical in this direction. Okay? Once I go to section 4, then down to section 5, you see how the shoulder is moving outward now, but it's also moving downward. Okay? It's not just moving straight outward this direction at the top of the swing, and it's not moving straight in this direction, straight vertical. It's going to move about 80% down into this path, this orbit, so that as the right shoulder moves, you're aware of the right shoulder moving downwards. That's what's going to cause the hip girdle to slide. But now the range of how much the hip girdle slides is determined by the left foot, how much you have it out or how much you have it at right angles. If you have it at right angles, the right shoulder, as it moves down in this path, 80% down, 15% out, down to stage number 6 down here at the bottom, you're going to find out what kind of range you have in these hips. going to be determined by the left foot and also the right shoulder. If the right shoulder goes straight outward, then you don't have an axis tilt and you're rotating around the body this way, okay? And we don't want to be going from stage 4 down to 5. You're already past 5. You didn't go to stage 5. Or try to get down to stage 6. You've got to have the axis tilt. Okay, so the right shoulder is going to determine how much axis tilt you have coming out of the downswing once you get down to stage number 5. When you get down to stage number 5, the shoulders have turned about 20 degrees, still 20 to 25 degrees turn at stage number 5, where the left arm is parallel to the ground. Club still points at the plane line right here at section number 5, same as section number 3. Still points at the plane line. Section number 5 coming down here at the bottom, right? Alright, coming down to section 5. Okay, you're aware of the plane of the right shoulder as it moves down. Okay, Johnny Miller has a tendency to go right shoulder moves absolutely almost vertical to the ground. Makes the right hip girdles fly. The left foot starts to come off the ground because it has nowhere else to go. It's a very complicated move that as you get older and you lose your timing, because those cells do get older, it's much more harder to coordinate all these complexities, this complex network together in concert. Okay, so we're here at stage 5 now. Club shaft's parallel, left arm parallel to the ground. Club shaft points to plane line. We're coming down to stage 6. Because when you go from stage 4 down to stage 6, it's so quickly as time as far as milliseconds is concerned. So this is why you want the larger muscles to coordinate the movements, because it's a little bit outside or a little bit too inside, then the hips and the knees and everybody else working in concert together, these larger muscles that work much more faster, they've got to coordinate the movements or compensation in order to fulfill your intention, whatever ball flight you choose to set up at the address position, that motor set. So again, we're at section number 4, 5 in the downswing. We're going down to section number 6. Now look at the right elbow, going from section 4 as it goes down to 5, all the way to 4, down to 5. It's the right elbow that's going to control now the plane of the club head as it moves from section 4 down to 5, down to 6. Okay? The right elbow, as it starts to straighten out and uncock and it gets down to stage 5, then that's when your rotation must move forward down at stage 5 to keep the club moving right down to stage 6. The right elbow will help you from stage 4 just down to about stage 5 as it straightens out. Then it's very hard to keep everything moving in this direction. See the joint come out of its socket? You don't want to do that. So the right elbow is beneficial from stage 4 right down to stage 5. Then you've got to keep rotating. Now the shoulders are going to have to start moving more forward. Okay? At stage 5, as the club comes down to stage 6, look how the shoulders are starting to square up. And as you get down to stage 6, at the bottom here, and centrifugal force starts to throw the club forward, that's when you've got to have the second axis tilt. As the club starts to move forward, then you've got to start moving your body. You have to start moving your body rapidly from stage 6 to stage 7 to be able to coordinate yourself with the pull throw out of centrifugal force. So that's why you have to keep rotating in motor set number 4 coming down. Keep rotating, so that you can hold off the release until you get down here to stage number 6. Okay? Got to keep rotating because that's what's going to move the club down to stage 5. Right elbow goes from stage 4, moves the club down the plane to stage 5. Then as you get down to 6, this is why you got to keep rotating to move the club forward up the plane. Over to stage number 8. Okay, so as we go from stage 5 here, okay, now we're going down to stage 6. When you go from 5 to stage 6, you've got to make sure you got that the axis tilt number 2 tilted to the right now, because that's what's going to control keep the right shoulder on the same trajectory down into impact, up into the finish, right? So that you're not coming out of this second axis tilt. Coming down here to stage 7, over to stage 8. You don't want to be doing this because this starts changing the vestibular ocular response of the eye muscle, the ocular motor muscles, and the vestibular semicircular canals in the ear that monitor balance. They're all going to be altered and all going to be changing. They're going to start making compensation for you. Also, it's difficult to maintain the image of the golf ball in the center of the eye when you come down and the head starts flapping around, moving this way or moving down into this direction. That's why one of the radius blocks is the head-neck radius block, so that you don't want the head to be flapping around. Okay, so we're back here at 5, going down to 6. Centrifugal force is ready to set in at stage number 6 here. When you go from stage 6, going down to stage 7, you're aware that you want this left radius in the left wrist maintained. Okay, stage 6, going to stage 7, you keep the rotation going. Once you get to stage 7, bingo, then you're going rotating straight left. Okay, there's certain cells in the spinal column defined as CPG, central pattern generators, that control the movement of the lower extremities, the lower torso, in its path to move straight left here. And that's basically the part of the spinal column that's in charge of the controlling this kind of movement, moving left up the plane angle. So you want to be able to be aware at stage, what happens at stage 6, what joints are doing what, going down to stage 7. Now, when you go to stage 6, going to stage 7, centrifugal force goes at 7. At stage 7 down here, you're aware of the left radius lock in the left knee, okay, starts to straighten out. As the left leg straightens out, come into here, stage 6, going through stage 7, left leg straightens out to be able to free the left hip. You don't want to be turning the left hip out of the way because you lose all your upper torso alignment. You want to have your left kneecap straightening out. It seems to emanate from the kneecap. It goes left, it rotates, then it frees the hip to coordinate itself with good movement between lower torso and upper torso. If the hip turns too fast right away, it seems to sabotage all movement. So, once you're at stage 6, you go into stage 7. Now you're losing the radius block in your left knee, which frees the left hip to keep the club moving forward down the plane angle. Okay? As the left knee straightens out, left hip clears at section number between stage 6 down to 6, 7. You've got to be aware of when impact's going to take place, so you can clear this left leg, clear the left hip. Then you're going to change the radius block in your right kneecap as well as your ankle. Okay, right ankle's going to come off. We'll discuss that in the next point of when we discuss the radius block. Okay, so stage 6 at the bottom, to stage 7. When you get to stage 7, you're going to lose the radius block, in your left knee, your left hip, also your waist bend here. You're going to lose the first axis tilt that you set up at address with. You're going to come into impact, bingo, you're going to start coming out of the shot. You're going to come out of it, but you're going to keep your axis tilt to the right. You don't want to be coming up and out of it up this direction, because now you're going to change your head and neck radius lock. The inner ears, you have to try to make the compensation, and it makes it very complicated. So, once you get down to stage 6, you're going through stage 7, which is impact. Boom, bingo, you rotate over to stage 8, where the club shaft is parallel to the ground here. Once it gets to stage 8, club comes up to the top, up and over. But when you're at stage number, when you're here at stage number 7, you're aware of the recocking of the left wrist again. The wrist have to recock and come upward. You don't have to sit and go like this. You just have to be aware of, as centrifugal force throws the club, is you've got to let your wrist start to recock the club head this way. Okay? Once you get to stage 8, the arms are straight, the wrists are recocking. As the wrist recock, okay, or on radial deviation coming up here, the weight gets lighter now. You see this? Here it's at the maximum weight, and it's very hard to slow the club head down. You must train yourself to recock the club, and as it recocks, then it slows down the right shoulder movement. Okay? It begins to slow it down. Once you get over to stage 8, then you have both elbows cocking and bringing the club straight vertically up and over. Okay? And that's what slows down the right shoulder. To keep the shoulder in the same inclination you had at address, rotate up to the top, top of the swing, come all the way back down to stage 8 and have the right shoulder in the exact same position. Okay? So here's section 7. You lose the left knee, come up to section number 8, bingo, section number 9, then back forward to section number 10 with axis tilt number 2 maintained throughout the entire duration. From sections 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10, throughout the full range, you've got to know from sections 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you've got to maintain that second axis tilt. It would look like this, going up to the top. Okay. I'll hit a ball right here. Okay. Watch me maintain the axis tilt. Okay. Axis tilt is maintained. A little bit right. Tilted down to the right here. I'm just aware of motor set going from section. Once I get to section number 4, going down to section 6. See how the left wrist hasn't moved outward yet? It moves outward at the very bottom. The force throws it here. Then it comes straight up and over. Okay? Okay? Top. Okay? So, got to keep that axis tilt from section 1 at address, 2, 3, 4, down to 5, axis tilt going down to 6. Now you're at stage 7, the axis tilt, going to stage 8, straight up over to stage 9, okay? Then stage 10. Okay? Section 2, 3, 4, down to 5, down to 6, centrifugal force sets in, goes to 7, radial deviation, left leg straightens out, left hip clears, my radius here is lost, my axis tilt, my original axis tilt coming down to the bottom here, it's lost, the other axis tilt sets in, I keep the rotation of the body, I keep it rotated to the left, up to stage 8, bingo. When I finish, back on down again. I'm going to hit a ball from this position here for you. Okay? I'm monitoring my rotation up. Right through the ball again. Okay? And one of the elements to control very good balance is to be able to go up, back on down to impact, right on through, maintain the second axis tilt, not coming up this way. Now you see a change of hip girdle slide. Bingo, right here. Okay, the 10 sections there we just discussed. Hold on a moment here. I'm going to see how much tape we have left. Okay, we're doing all right. Let's see. This is a 5-iron left-handed. And I'm going to hit 2 or 3 shots for you left-handed. Where, again, we're going to monitor the relationship of the various sections again, where I'm going to section 1, 2, okay, section number 3, the right arm's parallel to the ground, section number 4, down to section 5, down to section number 6, here, centrifugal force sets in at section 7, go into section 8, up to section 9, down to section 10. In this view, you have section 2, up to 3, up to 4, down to 5, down to 6, down to 7, going over to 8, going up to 9, back down to 10. Okay? Okay, where of my right foot position? I got a 5-iron in my hands here. Take the glove up. Okay. Very simple rotation. Soft little 5-iron here. Okay. Motor set up. Okay, we'll try one more. Okay, those are the basic 10 sections. I hope they've been beneficial. I'm going to pour myself a little glass of water and take a rest here for about 25 seconds. And then we'll go into the radius lines. Okay? Okay, I want to do two things here. I want to check, I'm going to have you observe me take 2 practice swings with the driver and then 2 practice swings with the left-handed driver. Again, here I am setting up at address, and I'm aware of my rotation, going through the various sections, 1, 2, up to 3, up to 4, down to 5, down to 6, going to 7, going to 8, going to 9, going to 10, keeping the axis tilt. The side view of the shot looks this way. Again, I'm just rotating up very quickly, back on down. Okay. A little angle here, up. Okay. It's amazing how consciously you have to learn these elements, but then once they're applied and you break it down, you know each little step you must incorporate into the overall network, and these are little sub-programs being developed and worked into the overall program as one unit working as one whole, as one framework. Then it's amazing how I can just set up to the ball. I already have the radius locks monitored. I just have to make sure I be aware of my left foot alignment, and basically it's just the rotation up, rotating through the ball. Okay, rotation up, bang, through the ball. If I go in this direction, up the plane, bang. See the axis tilt? Club going up. Okay, you don't see any of this action going on here. Okay, that's right-handed. Left-handed, we have again, setting up at the address position, go into section 2, up to section 3, up to section 4, down to 5, down to 6, going to 7, going to 8, up to 9, down to 10. Okay? Setting up very slowly here. Okay? Again, going to the top. Okay? One more. Okay? From a little side view here. Taking the club up. Okay? A couple more. Full view. Top. Okay? Another one. Forward. Okay? And a couple this way. Going up the plane. Okay. Let's establish now our ideas dealing with the radius locks. Okay. One of the first points of radius locks, there are 8 of them in the golf swing. First one we're going to deal with is called the foveal field visual perceptual lock. That incorporates my understanding of keeping the image of the golf ball. As you look downward to the golf ball, your line of sight, once you set up at address and you look downward to the ball, you want to make sure that as you look downward, you want to keep the image of the golf ball in the center of the pupil. That is basically called your foveal field. If I look, so I can see my hands moving, but I'm looking directly at the camera, that's my perceptual field picking it up. You got to get everything into the center of the foveal field, the pupil of the eye. The old cliche that when you swing the club up, you got to keep your head still. Well, the reason why they say you must keep your head still so that you can keep the image of the golf ball in the center of the foveal field of the eye. Because now, why is that? Because if you do lose the foveal field of the image of the ball staying in the center of the retina, the brain loses its postural support guidance system to move the arms and the limbs in its direction around the axis, back down to impact, and up the plane. You've got to know that you cannot lose your perceptual lock of this golf ball. Okay? Excuse me for a moment, we have a gentleman hitting in this direction. It could be dangerous. Okay? You hit a marvelous shot there. Something our friend Dean Beeman would love to do, good shots like that. Okay, so once you set up your motor set at the ball, when you are looking at if the lens of the camera is the golf ball, as I set into the ball with my golf club, the lens now is the ball. Well, when I turn my head to the right, my eyes are rotating to the left now. Okay, because I've got to keep the image of the if the golf ball is the lens here, I got to keep the image in the center of my pupil. So now, if I turn my head at address position too much to the right, if I close my left eye, I can only see in this direction on my right eye. So therefore, if both my eyes are not on the image of the golf ball, I lost my foveal field. I lost my depth perception. Then matters get very complicated. You cannot play on a virtuoso level if you don't have both foveal fields in your right eye and your left eye focused on the golf ball. So look at the range of the ocular motor muscles of the eyes. As I set up at address here, I take the club back, I'm rotating to the right, going to stage 2, going up to stage 3, I'm turning my head. I've got to make sure both eyes stay fixated on the ball so that as my head turns to the right, the eyes are rotating to the left. Okay? And now when I start my downswing, as I come back to the ball, my eyes are also moving in a socket at the top. They're here. But then as I move back, it's moving backward to keep the image of the ball in the center of the pupil. So the brain can monitor its feedback, not only for position orientation where it wants to move, but also for balance as well. Because the eyes are part of the 3 systems that control balance of the body as it just controls its balance systems. So as you rotate back to the ball, the brain still must have the feedback of where the ball is so that its arms and limbs can move there, as well as postural balance. So you're at the top, you're coming down here, bingo, the head's moving slightly to the left, the eyes are moving right in its socket. You come down at the bottom here, bingo, impact, right? Well, just after impact, until the club goes from stage 7, halfway up to 7.5, the head's moving left, but the eyes are moving to the right a little bit. Once you get to stage 7.5, then the whole system rotates to the left and up into the plane. Excuse me. I'm checking the battery to make sure the battery doesn't get too dry. Okay. So the foveal field is very important to be able to keep the image of the golf ball in the center of the eye. Another point here is the foveal field. It's really connected to the second radius called the head-neck radius lock. Because when you set up at address for the head-neck radius lock, remember all these radius locks are pretty much being established at the address position. It's almost part of your motor set as you go up the plane, down the plane, back up the plane again. you also have to be aware of the eyes. Once you set up at address, you don't want to be too upright with your head neck radius lock, because now my eyes are looking straight downward, and I can see the ball here. I can only see this area. Okay, I cannot see my feet, and you don't want to have your head up too high, because then the eye muscles must stretch downward. Okay, to try to see the golf ball. That makes it too complicated. You want to be able, when you look downward, rotate your head down here so that your visual field, I can see, once I set up at address with my head positioned here, in this position for me, I can see my waistband, all this area around here, my visual field, as I have my head rotated downward, okay? And that head position is maintained through top of the swing, downswing, all the way, bingo, up into stage number 8. Okay, I'm very much aware here that this visual field is established here, and I don't want to get my head up here too high, where now the basic center of my visual field is up here now. Okay? It's up here now. I want to be able to move it downwards so it's in the center. Okay? Very, very, very important. Because if your head's up too high, when you come down to impact, when you come out of that, once your axis tilt, the head shifts and you get a blur spot to the location of the golf ball, and it's very hard for the brain to monitor its next step, where it's supposed to move to from the various sections. Okay? That's your second radius lock. Your third radius lock, very important one here, it's in the right elbow. The right elbow is as you set up at address, once you go to section number 2, you have the flexion of the right elbow on the backswing. The hands rotate upward to 90 degrees from address to section number 2. The hands continue to cock. The right elbow continues to flex as it goes up. The right bicep is flexing upward. The right forearm. Section 3, going up to section 4, you're aware of the bending of the right elbow and the path in which it goes away from the trajectory, in its trajectory around the rib cage. Okay? Your section number 4 at the top, you're coming down to section number 5, you're aware of the straightening of the right elbow here, all the way down to straightening of the right elbow, down to stage 4, down to stage 5. Then as you rotate forward to the bottom, now the mass is moving downward. Okay, now you know why I was checking that battery, because it seemed that it was going to run out any second, and it certainly did. Please forgive me. Okay, I think I was at the point here discussion about the right elbow and the downswing here, how the right elbow, as you go, you notice there's no more distal rotation in the hands anymore once you get to section 3, going up to 4, okay? Once you're at section 3, you start to come down as the right elbow controls the movement of the club coming down the plane, okay? The path of the left arm, the right elbow bending controls that path, as well as the path of the club head coming up the plane and down the plane, back and down to section number 5 here, coming down to section 6. You're at section 4 at the top, coming down to section 5. The right elbow will take the club from section 4 right down to section 5. And then as the shoulders move forward, down the line, it's going to move the arms from section 5, down here to section 6 is going to be controlled not so much by the right elbow anymore, but the falling of the mass of the club head as it gets parallel down here to stage 6 as it moves outward, okay? So, but the right elbow's basic function is pretty much over with once it gets down to section 5, and then as it extends a little bit forward. You don't want to extend it too much out, too much more in this direction. It's still coming down and stretching out this way. Very close to the body, stretching out here. It's not going out that direction. It's coming down, right elbow's coming up here, down this way, okay? I'll put my right hand on it, see the path in which it's coming down, okay? You don't want to extend it this way because then it's going to throw the radius off. Very sophisticated movement here with the right elbow. And basically for me, once I take the club to the top and I come down like this, I basically have learned at what point the right elbow straightens out and it stays very passive. Then centrifugal force takes into stage 6, stage 7, going to stage 8, and back up. Okay, so that right elbow relationship is very important because it's going to control the plane of the left arm as it comes down to section 5, down to section 6, moving forward to section number 7. So, that right elbow of the radius lock number 3 is very, very, very important. At the bottom here, at impact, the right elbow is a couple inches from being straightened out. It fully straightens out at point 6, at stage 7.5 for stage 7, section 7.5, here stage 8. So halfway up towards section 8, the right elbow is fully straightened out. Then the wrist starts to recock here again. Bingo. Okay? You don't want to have the full rotation of the hands turning over. You want to hang on to that baby, then come on up as if there's a blocking action. Okay? Right elbow straightens out. Centrifugal force throws it like this. Bingo, you come on up to stage number 8, then 9, then 10. Okay, the fourth radius lock is your waistband. This is it's called the upper torso waistband. As you set up at the address position, as you bend at the waist, this alignment is going to be maintained from section 1 to 2, up to 3, up to 4, down to 5. As you go down to section 6, now you have an extra tilt now to the upper torso waistband. Okay? This has to be maintained all the way up, all the way down. If I took it up to section number 4 at the top, you see I'm still, section number 4, see I'm still bent at the waist? Okay? Alright? So, you come down to section 5, down to 6, you get to 7, just as you get to 7, you lose your upper torso waistband. What's the function of the upper torso waistband? Is to control the plane of the shoulders, up and down the plane. For me to set up a hair address, take the club to section 2, up to 3, up to 4, down to 5, down to 6, going to 7 is all being controlled now by the plane of the shoulders as it rotates here around the thorax, the ribcage, and the lumbar area. Okay? The plane of the scapula bones, the back of the shoulders, are all going to be affected here by this waistband as you set up to address. Okay? Another point here to the upper torso waistband is you've got to be aware of, as well as a motor set, is once you set up at address, is that both scapula bones in the back here are stretched outward. It's almost like, you know how the Hulk would go like this? That's the basic thing you're doing once you're set up at the address position. The muscles in your trapezius are stretched outward. Okay? They're outward this direction. Very important because it allows the muscle to be contracted to move around the axis much more readily. That's being established at your upper torso waistband radius lock. Okay? Okay, next radius lock is your left wrist. You've got to be able to make sure you know the function of this left wrist staying in a level position pretty much throughout the address position. Then moving up to section number 2, it starts to become cocked, or radial deviation sets in. Here, going to section 3, going up to section 4, see how level it is, a little bit cocked, coming down to section 5, max 130 degrees cocked here, down to section 6, the right elbow starts to straighten out. Okay, the left hand is pretty much neutral here. Then it moves, centrifugal force throws it forward, down the plane, and you want to make sure this stays pretty level. You don't want to start having the left wrist uncocked, going from stage 6, going to stage 7, and uncocking here, because as the hands go uncock away, the shoulders start coming up, and the club is thrown into an orbit that we don't want to be dealing with. It creates too many errors, unfortunately. So, once you get down to stage 6, going to stage 7, you've got to make sure this hand stays in a neutral position pretty level, not uncocked. Because this way the hand will continue to move right around its axis of the body. If the hands keep moving around the axis, then they're being controlled by the shoulders, therefore the club head is going to move on a proper arc. If you come down to impact and this uncocks and the club goes out that way, you don't have the pure rotation around the body anymore. Centrifugal force to throw the club in a good arc, also not only for accuracy of the plane of the orbit, but as well as control the rotation of the club face and the plane it rotates up to section number 8. All being controlled by this left wrist. Okay? So you've got to be aware of its role and its functions from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, impact, stage, especially stage 6, going to 7, and then going back up to stage 8. If the left wrist stays neutral or level, then the hand stays and it goes continuously around the axis of the body. When you get to stage 7, excuse me for a moment, please go right ahead. Okay, so at stage 6 here, left wrist is rotating forward now. It's not rotating uncocked in ulnar deviation. It's moving forward down the line. It's moving forward with the rotation of the body here. As the hands start to recock from stage 7 to stage 8, the more they're cocked, the closer the hands will stay to the body here. Okay? All right? If I go up to the top, back up the plane, you'll see in slow motion the hands come right here. Okay? If I come down to stage 7 and the left wrist starts to uncock, look what happens here. Okay? The arms get too much away from the body. Okay, so excuse me. So that left wrist radius lock is very influential here at the bottom as you rotate up and down the plane. Okay. Next radius lock is your kneecaps. Now the knees, its relationship and its role is going to be controlled in its radius locks. Remember, the whole function of the radius locks is to be able to discuss the controlling the radius of the club head as it goes up and down the plane. Okay. After we discussed the left wrist, it's something that I had a discussion a few days ago about Zavin. Would it be possible to even include the hip girdle as a factor that can change the radius of the club head? And it's something that I felt that should be added as far as one of the radius locks, one of the last radius locks that are part of the golf swing. So after you finish the roll of the left wrist, now you have the radius lock of the hip girdles. So those hip girdles, they don't want to be sliding around, because if I release the club upward here in its proper plane from section 1 to section 2, if I slide my hip girdles, see how the radius of the club head is being altered here? Or if I come forward too much, okay? Those radius locks, we discussed them already, I think should be included as the next radius lock after the left wrist. So you have foveal field, head and neck, you have the right elbow, number 3, number 4 is your waist bend, number 5 is number 5 I think should be your hip girdles here, 6 should be your left wrist, 7 should be the knees, 8 should be the radius lock in the ankles, and 9 should be your toes. So let's go ahead and add we know number 3 radius lock is your right elbow, the 4th radius lock is going to be your waist band, and the 5th radius lock will be now termed as your hip girdles. What are those hip girdles doing throughout the duration of going to the backswing, on the forward swing, and how it affects the radius of the club head? I think we've included enough already in our discussion, the role of the radius lock, so please just incorporate that into its overall, your overall understanding of the radius locks and your motor set, and its role of the left foot to the right shoulder, what's going on with the radius lock in your hip girdle. So after we leave the hip girdle number 5 would be your left wrist. Let's see, 9, 8, 7, 6. 6 would be your left wrist now. Radius lock number 7 would be in your kneecaps. Now what is the kneecaps in its role? Once you set up motor set your relationship to the ball here, when you take the club back, going from section 1 to section 2, basically you're changing the radius lock in your knees, left and right knee, and it's almost the entire address position, okay? So that radius lock in your kneecaps are constantly changing. You don't want to be changing, having your right knee straightened out, top of the swing where the hips are 45 degrees and your kneecaps are 45 degrees. It makes it too complicated to get back into the right knee to go flex back in here. It has a tendency, the joint wants to go out with the right shoulder. So you don't want your right knee to be straightened out. You want it to keep it braced and flexed so that the radius lock of the hip girdle does not slide forward to the right on the backswing. So it's going to change the arc of the club head and then the path in which the shoulders rotate up the plane and also around the plane. Excuse me again, I'm going to check the battery here. Looks like things are still functioning quite well. Okay, so again, the radius locks in your knees, you know at what stage is what they're doing as they're in a transitory mode. They're always moving all the time. You go from section 1 to 2 to section 3. Section 3, the knees have turned 20 degrees. Going up to section 4, going up to section 5, down to section, 4 at the top, down to 5, down to 6. Now stage 6, you're back at the address position. But when you go on to stage 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, and 4, then down to 5, the knees have changed. The radius is to the ball. Okay? As you come down to stage 6, at the bottom down here, once you start centrifugal force sets in, you go to stage 7, you've lost your radius in your left kneecap, also in your right knee, all the way going up into stage 8, 9, and 10, okay? The right knee in the downswing does not go this way, doesn't go outward. It's a problem that's been quite prevalent in some of the tour players and watching them over the years. And that seems to be conducive because when the player gets to the top of the swing, the more he rotates outward, then the right knee has tendency to go with it. So you've lost the radius of the hip girdles, how it slides. As the hip girdle slides, again being determined by the left foot, the range of it. As it slides, you see the shoulders drop, and as the right side drops like this, you want your right knee to be dropping inward into this direction. If the right knee stays perfectly straight and you try to flex, then your range of motion is very limited. But if the right knee drops, then the right shoulder can drop much deeper. Now, so that basically explains some of the principles of the right kneecaps. I'm sure that all of you will work it out to the degree of employing it at the right time and right place based on the length of your arms and your legs and, again, the idiosyncrasies of what feels comfortable for you. Okay, let's go down to the ankles. At the dress position, section 1, going to section 2, going up to section 3, going up to section 4, I have not altered my left ankle alignment. I don't want to be going section 1 to 2, then start lifting off the ground here. There is no logical, rational reason as to why you want your left ankle radius to ever be altered from section 1 to 4 all the way down to section 5. There is no reason whatsoever to lose the left ankle radius lock. Because if that comes off the ground like this, there's too many problems it creates. Do your yoga exercises, do your flexibility so that you can still get up to section 4 and have the flexion in your little rear end, the gluteus maximus, and across your back, your calf muscles and your lower back, so that you can have the range of flexibility, to have larger range of motion to move, so that left radius does not be altered. The reason why you don't want it altered, because if you set up at address and you go from section 1 to 2, now the left foot comes off the ground. Look where the left knee has moved. It's moved all the way inward. Now you're in section 4, you come back to section 5, and it's dropping. You get a whole range of movement going on. The muscles working and firing and stretching and contracting in the whole area. And it's very easy for that left hip to start rotating too early, too prematurely, instead of having the left knee straightened out. Left knee straightened, that's what frees the left hip. The tendency to come up here is to get the left hip to spin too early because of the left ankle radius being lost. And it seems to throw off the complex network and the symphony or the rhythm of the upper torso rotating through the ball. It's especially down at section 6, going to 7 with the lower torso. It's got to be timed just correctly coming through here. If I come up like this, then the hips fire too early, and the legs and everything gets out of rhythm. So that radius lock, we don't want to lose that. Once you get down from section 4, going down to 5, going to section 6, going to section 7, you're going to lose the radius lock in your right ankle. Now, the reason for that is because once you get down to section 6, going to 7, the left knee is straightening out, the left hip is rotating, and so that's what's pulling this knee inward and also losing your radius lock in your right ankle. Okay? But in your foot action, once you go down to section 7, going to 8, see the location of the right foot? All the way up to here, the right foot should still be staying inward. You don't want to get it perpendicular to the ground. You don't want to get your right foot out in that direction because the right shoulder has a tendency to keep rotating all the way around through the shot. If I get a full shot here, taking it up, okay, see the position of the right foot, back and down. Same thing here, going up the plane, forward, okay, where it's bracing, keeping the right shoulder back. The right foot comes up, the tendency of the right shoulder to move forward. We don't want to do that because if this goes too prematurely, then the right shoulder will go, you've lost your axis tilt to axis tilt number 2, which is going to control the plane of the right shoulder as it moves around. Okay, very valid point here. If I swing it left-handed, you look at the left foot again, as I take it up, okay, left foot's got to stay down, up, okay, here, I go up to the top, okay, relationship of the left foot must stay down, okay, that's swinging left-handed. Let me check the battery again and see how we're doing. Okay, the battery seems to be working quite well. So that concludes our little seminar on motor set. I'll run again through motor set, the elements involved with establishing the framework to be able to send that ballistic missile called the golf ball in its orbit, as well as the arms and the shoulders. After motor set, I'm going to run through one more time very quickly in its order the head section, and then in conclusion I'm going to spell out again the radius locks. So again, you have motor set established dual radius locks. One is the radius lock set up at address 20 degrees. The other radius lock takes place at the very bottom of the section between section 5 and 6, upper torso tilted to the right, wise and tilted to the right, so that the right shoulder can move on the same plane, going up the plane, as the left shoulder went on the back swing. Okay? That dual axis tilt. Okay, number 2 is your radius lock. We discussed the importance of the radius locks. Third one is the fixation of the left foot alignment. Okay? We discussed the importance of the alignment number 1 of the left foot, position number 2 to position number 3. Number 1, it's more conducive. This left foot allows the range of the left hip of the hip girdle to slide to its maximum degree outside the left foot. When you're hitting your short little wedge shots, sandwich shots, bunker shots, chip shots, you want the left foot pretty much at right angles, unless you want to start knocking the ball down. Then you rotate the left foot out. Okay, so on the subject here of the radius locks of the left foot alignment, you want to know again what position you want to put this left foot in to be able to get the desired trajectory or intention in what you're trying to employ. The left foot again, 1, 2, 3 position will determine how much hip slide there is. The hip slide does not take place because of the left foot position. The left foot position controls the range of how much the hip girdle is going to slide. The hip girdle slides because of the tilting of the right shoulder and its path starting in the downswing. Okay, once we leave motor set under the left foot, we move next to rotation of the body. Rotation going up the plane, down the plane. Keep moving forward to hold off the release down to section number 6, goes to 7. Keep your rotation up the body around the axis. setting up here, up to the top, all the way back on through, back on down again. Okay? Rotation, 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 rotation. You want straight rotation up, straight rotation down, but at the top of the swing, when the hip girdle slide over, it delays the rotation for the shoulders to come down, so everything can keep moving forward. You're still inside out, forward from section 6, going to section 7, then it rotates forward. If you rotate forward just like this, then the right shoulder is going to move too high through impact. You got to have the axis tilt controlled by the right shoulder, and the range of the axis tilt is going to be determined by the left foot. Very important, my friends. Okay, so we have rotation. Rotation up, rotation down with the axis tilt, momentarily delaying the rotation, then bingo, all the way up to the plane, okay? Rotation up, down to section 5, going to section 6, the axis tilt, allowing the club to still move inside out here, bingo, right up to section number 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now we have no release. You're going to keep the relationship, the left arm, the club shaft, 90-degree relationship, rotating from 4 down to 5, down to 6, until centrifugal force throws you forward, bingo, up the plane again, okay? Section 6, there's delaying your release at the bottom here, and centrifugal force moves it forward. I did not throw that club myself. I took the club to the top, from all the way down, bingo, okay? The throw-out action of centrifugal force did it all for me. Okay, that's no release, and at the bottom, centrifugal force sets in there right at the very bottom of the swing. It rotates, goes the club forward on the 180-degree arc, coming in here, bingo, to this position, then straight on up. Okay? All being dictated by centrifugal force. Let me check the battery again, please. It seems to be functioning quite well. Okay, we go to the 10 sections again. Address being here, setting up at address, wherever your center of gravity position again. Little shift it to the left. Section 1, going up to section 2, the top. Section number 2, hands outside the right foot. Right elbow contracts first, the hands rotate and cock. Section number 3, left arm parallel to the ground, club shaft still on the plane line. Okay. Section 1, section 2, going up to section 3. The plane here of the club shaft going up is going to be controlled by the right elbow and keeping your radius bent at the low. Okay? Radius lock. That right elbow keeps bending, the club keeps coming up the plane. Okay? Shoulders keep rotating, hips keep rotating. Down, coming on, back on down. Coming down to the bottom of the swing. Right elbow straightens out, brings the hands right down the plane. Now you see how the hands start moving forward here? See how they stop moving this direction? As they start moving forward, this is why you have to have the axis tilt to keep the hands going downward. Then at the very bottom here, then it goes outward. So you still have a downward motion here. Okay? All being controlled by the right elbow. Then centrifugal force takes over and you move forward up the line. Okay, this is going from section 1, section 2, okay, going up to section 3, going up to section 4, okay, coming down to section 5, club shaft still on the plane, coming down to section 6, right elbow straightening out. You know the relationship with the shoulders, what they're doing. Centrifugal force sets in, throws it to 7, going from 7 over to 8, the hands stay recocked, right? They start recocking, keep the hands level all the way from stage 5 here, going to 6. You got to keep this hand left wrist level. Goes from 7. You lose your radius lock here. You keep your axis tilt coming up, coming down into stage 7. Going over to stage 8, the hands are recocking again. Then the hands recock, and then the elbows cock up, upward. At stage 9, going down to stage 10. The elbows must recock forward to keep the club moving very lightly. Going up, forward, and back down again. Okay? Okay, looks like the battery's still functioning. So am I. A little help from our water friends here. Okay, so one of the things also when the section number 10, when section 4 through 10, you want to make sure you keep your axis tilt, keep the right foot back, your left knee is straightened out, your left hip is slid over just where it's just on the outside of the left foot like this. You're hitting the driver because the left foot is rotated around about 20 degrees. Okay? If I'm hitting a sandwich and my left foot's at right angles, I'm going to be coming through here and I'm going to have my tilt in this direction. Okay. Now the last thing we're going to discuss is radius locks. We discussed that a little bit earlier. I'll run through one more time. You have the full wheel field. Keep an image of the golf ball in the center of the eye. Maintained from section 1 all the way to section 4 down to section 7. At address, you don't want to tilt your head too much so that the right eye loses its visual field of the golf ball, because now you've lost your depth perception. If you lose your depth perception, as well as the relationship of information from the ball going into the brain through via the eye, you're going to run into severe complications again. The body's just going to become disoriented and the brain won't know where to move itself, move the other limbs, as the central nervous system runs on milliseconds, thousandths of a second, and the brain can make the compensation. So you need that feedback coming from both eyes to be able to monitor and postulate all the various range of motions of the various palms and limbs. Okay, so under radius locks again, we have the foveal field. Second radius lock is your head neck lock that you have to concentrate to make sure that you have the proper visual field, as well as locking your head so that on the backswing your head doesn't come out, it doesn't rotate to the right, it doesn't drop, it doesn't move right or left in the backswing, up or down, or especially going from section 4 down to 5, down to 6, down to 7. Many players' head drop down to that plane. Very, 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 very difficult. You don't want to do that. So you're going to have to go very slow in a golf swing, very slow down to these various sections. Then let the centrifugal force throw the club out and just move forward, and don't let the head be dropping. Okay? All right, the battery still is working quite well. Okay, third radius lock is the right elbow. Right elbow controlling at address, going to section 2, going up to 3, going up to 4. Just controlling the whole radius of the hand. If I'm at section number 3 going up, if I straighten my right elbow too much, I've elongated the radius here. It's a different radius than I'm going to have down at the ball. The brain knows that. Okay? So we got to be aware of the right elbow coming up this way and right back on down on a very sharp arc. Okay? Right elbow looks like it's coming up in this plane here, very close to the body. All right? Okay? You don't want to be going this way, then close and try to change it. Don't want to do that. Okay, so radius lock again of the right elbow is very crucial, influential. Address, section 2, going to section 3, going to section 4. Right elbow bending, allowing the club to go up the plane, the hands up the plane. Section 5, parallel to the ground. Section number 6, look at the right elbow straightening out. The hands have not moved in their forward direction yet, because we're waiting at the very bottom here for centrifugal force to do that for us. Haha. So, right elbow is controlling all of that. Right elbow on the downswing goes out this way, you're going to change the radius again. So, please monitor the right elbow. Okay, once you get by the right elbow, we're going to go to the waistband, the radius lock. Again, established at address 20 to 25% bent at the address position. This radius upper torso waistband lock controls the plane of the shoulders as they move up and down the plane, okay? In a very fast motion, all this rotation of the shoulders is being controlled by the right elbow, the left wrist, the waistband, the kneecaps, everything, the hip girdles, all being controlling the radius of that club head. It's a very complicated network. It's amazing how good the golfers do play. It's a tribute to the innovation and the miracle of the actual brain and cerebellum and how all the frontal lobes and how they all work together as one complete package. So, okay, now you have the waistband. Okay, its importance. You come down to section 6, going to section 7. Now, if the waistband controls the movement of the shoulders going up and down the plane, how do you keep the shoulders moving on the same plane from section 7 to 8? How do you control that? By the second axis tilt moving around forward up the plane angle again. That's where you can take the club up, okay, and have the excellent balance. The shoulders are still moving up the same plane angle, okay? Going up, right? Have the same degree of axis tilt, right? So, got to know that this waistband axis tilt is going to be lost at section 7 coming up, and to keep the shoulders rotating the same plane angle, bingo, got to have the second axis tilt. How much this tilt is going to be determined again by left foot. How much the left foot is rotated out, how much is rotated in. If it's in, if I do the same swing, my left foot's at right angles to the target line, look what happens to my hip. See how down I am? See that? I can't control it. I must be here. But if the left foot is rotated outward 45 degrees, I'll take it up. Look at this. It looks as if I'm almost straight up and down. Okay? Hip girdle range does not go outward. Left-handed, if the right foot's at right angles, I'll take it up. Okay? See how the tilt? Don't want to do that with your long irons. Wedges, they're fine, not the long irons. Okay, the battery's still working. I only think we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left, so I'm in a kind of a hurry to conclude this tape for you. So radius lock waistband. Next radius lock is discussed here is the fifth radius lock, and that is certainly the hip girdle. Again, I've discussed it earlier, just recently, the role of the hip girdles. You want your right foot webbed out a little bit in the backswing. That'll help support you from sliding too much. If the right foot's at right angles to the backswing, the hip girdles will slide, have a tendency to do that. You don't want to be getting into that bad habit, because you're changing the radius of the club head as well as your center of gravity motion. And it's very complicated to control and to organize here, okay? So, please forgive me for having this noise in the background. I hope it's not hurting our volume of the sound that I'm trying to transmit to you, okay? Very shortly he will be leaving. Okay, so here we are again. The hip girdle slide, you're going to control that range of motion by the position of your left foot, and that's going to determine what kind of flight you want to have on the ball. The flight of the ball is synonymous to where that left foot is positioned. The range of motion of the hip girdles is synonymous with where the left foot is positioned and the left kneecap. The left kneecap is a joint in between the hip girdles as well and the left foot. It seems that wherever the left foot is positioned, it's going to put the restriction on the left knee, which puts the restrictions on the hip girdles from sliding. Okay? Valid point there. So, you got to be aware of how much the initial movement of the hip girdle is determined by the right shoulder as it moves down the plane. If I move it right outward, I have no slide to my hips. If I move too downward, too much inside out here, then I have too much axis tilt. Don't want to do that either. There's an ideal relationship for the right shoulder to go to at section 5 here to move straight downward. Okay, it's moving down, it's still moving out simultaneously, and it's still moving forward. Okay, all has to be timed together in one package. Okay, you have left wrist going top of the swing, coming down at the bottom, keeping it in a neutral position. Stage 6, going to stage 7, going over to stage 8. At this stage level or pretty much cocked, the hands stay close to the body. They don't uncock and get away from the body. Okay? You want to keep it relatively close to the body as you move up the axis and up and over. Okay? I'm checking the battery again, still working. You have that left wrist radius lock is very important. Next stage is the kneecaps. We discussed that, where you know the range of the knees and its role of setting up at address. You're in a constant change in radius. Okay, like there's a dancing routine going on in your kneecaps. Okay, come on, baby. Okay, so you want to make sure that those both kneecaps, you know their role, their relationship, setting up at address, taking the club back, going up to section number 3 here. Make sure the right knee doesn't straighten out because it gives too much mobility to the right hip. If the hips turn more than 45 degrees, the shoulders will turn more than 45 degrees, and then the club will have a tendency to cross over at the top. Okay? If the right leg straightens out, it will cross over the top, and we don't want to be doing that. Also, one of the reasons why you don't want your right leg to be straightening out, okay, because of the possibility of crossing over, you you don't want your right leg straightened out because here my center of gravity is in the middle of the foot. Right leg straightens out, the weight will shift back towards the heel. So that now I have the weight on the center of my left foot, and so my right leg straightens out, my weight goes back to the heel. So I have a weight heel, this should be here in the heel, then I got my weight towards the left, and as I bend at the waist, now my weight's going to shift to the toes if I cut my left foot off the ground. Too complicated. Please be aware of that, okay? So if you go to the top and right leg straightens out, and then left foot comes off the ground, so here you have the weight on your right foot, the top of the swing, over here on your left foot. The weight's distributed like this. Come on, okay? It's got to remain fixated right across this club shaft. By the time you go up and you come right back on down, you've got to keep it the center of the feet. If you don't keep it the center, the vestibular arcular response will take over, and you've lost the balance because you're trying to move around a fixated axis. Okay? You cannot stress the importance of not having your weight changed by coming out of your waistband radius lock, by having your right knee go this way and the hip hurdle slide over here. Okay? They're all linked together, and the easier it is that the central nervous system does not have to make any compensations from the top of the swing down through 6 through 7 through 8, so that you look like you just have one whole completed swing where the club just goes up the plane, back down the plane, straight forward. Okay? Go ahead. And you set up and address your left hand, and it goes up the plane, forward, right here. You don't want to be taking the club and your weight, right leg straighten out, weight going to the heels, left foot coming off the ground, then switching this way, then coming around, right? I'm checking the battery. To try to develop from young prodigies, or young talented athletes on the PGA Tour, or even in the amateur ranks, and trying to get to the more accomplished states of a virtuoso or being just a very accomplished player, you got to be aware of these rotations and the segments of the rotation and how one relationship affects the other. As you get down to stage number, the radius lock down to the ankles, again, as I said earlier, you don't want to be coming out of it on the top of your swing because you don't want the left kneecap to be changing. Okay? The left kneecap the left ankle is very, very important in its role. From going to the top of the swing, you don't want to be doing that. You got to keep it locked, stable, going up, down through impact. Left leg straightens out, you lose the radius lock. Once the club shaft goes from 6, going right to stage 7, it's just starting to come off the ground. From 6, going straight to 7, slightly coming off the ground, going all the way to 8. The right foot stays back and down. Okay? There's your radius lock. Okay. What I'd like to do now, that kind of says most of the things we've learned right now. I certainly hope that this will be very helpful and beneficial to you. And I would like to hit a few shots here now, right and left-handed, just give you a general feel of what I'm trying to incorporate, what I'm doing in my crosswing, so you can actually see the action in motion. I'm going to hit some shots here right through the camera, around the camera. I'm going to move the camera into position to my right as well as to my left, so I'm going to hit a few shots here right-handed for you. All right. We have here the driver here. I'm going to hit this to the right of the camera a little bit. Okay, I'm set up at motor set. I've got the driver, my left foot turned out 20 degrees. I'm going to be aware of I've established my radius lock. I'm aware of just basic rotation up the plane and right back down through the plane, going through the motor set, going through the radius locks, going through each one of the stations that is going to be controlling the movement of all the limbs and the body, as well as controlling the axis tilt, etc., etc. So here's I'm going to hit 2 drivers, 2 5-irons, and 2 wedges. Okay? So again, here I am. I'm just aware of setting up to the ball, my left foot position. Okay? I'll move this over so make sure you got me in the entire picture here. Okay? Alright? Aware of just priming myself, tuning these muscles at a dress position, getting a little bobbing and weaving so that I have a better reaction time like a tennis player. Somebody's going to serve you the tennis ball. You get a little tuning and priming of the muscles to have a reaction. It seems to set the whole motor set of what I intend to do in a more relaxed mode. Okay? So, here we are at a dress, aware of my left foot fixation alignment. Okay? Just aware of rotation, club goes down. Okay? Bingo. Perfect. Little fade. See the axis tilt? Okay. Try it again. One more. To the right of the camera. Okay. Where my feet position? How much this left foot is opened up? How much the right shoulder goes down to have the second axis tilt? Bingo. The rotation straight forward. Okay. More of rotation, no release. Hit a little hook there. Alright. Here I'm going to hit a little bit left of the camera so you got a little different view. Okay, aware of priming everything, aware of the rotation, coming through impact. Okay, one more. Alright, aware of the setting up, just pure rotation upward and downward. Making sure I keep my foveal locked all the way from section 1 through 7. Once I get down to section 7, halfway forward to section 8, hands are recocking again. Okay, bingo, then I move forward. I lose my foveal lock. Let me check the... Oh, the camera's still working. All right. Let me go to some 5-irons here. How about 2 4-irons? Okay. One left of the camera, one right of the camera. Okay. Same basic relationship. Where my left foot, how much I want it turned out. Okay. Rotation up. Right through the shot. Back on down to section 10. Okay. Set. I'm going to hit a little bit right of the camera here. Same thing. Where my left foot position. Rotate it up. Right through the shot. Up to section number 10. Little axis tilt, right? Okay. I'm going to hit 3 wedge shots here. Let me make sure this okay, the lens is still working. I'm going to hit 3 wedge shots. One with a pitching wedge. I'm going to hit it right over the camera's lens. I'm going to have my left foot at right angles to the target line, plane line. I'm going to take it up. Okay, see the tilt here? See the tilt? Not here. Tilted because of the range of my left foot. Bingo, and up. Okay, which is going to be more conducive to a more upright golf shot, a plane angle or pitching wedge. Okay, here. All right, nice soft wedge, 105, 110 yards. let's go ahead and hit a sandwich. Let me show you pitching wedge here in the direction going to the left over here. Okay. My left foot braced. Okay. Relax it still to the right. Let me hit a forearm to the left over here so you have a little bit of a view of the side angle. Okay. Once I've set into it, okay. And let me hit one driver in that direction. Okay. Okay. Okay, the lens is still working. Let's hit a couple sandwiches right over the top of the camera.